Hello, GovCon winners, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Dr. Kizzy Parks, and I've been awarded well over $50 million in federal government contracts. And I'm here to help you learn how to find, bid, and win profitable government contracts based on what I've done, y'all. We have a great video for you today. Let's get into it. There was this time when I first started out. I was a subcontractor, and there was the project manager who I reported to for this particular contract. And he had this nice cubicle in this Air Force client's building. And he was very, very talkative. And I loved chatting with him because I had no idea about government contracting, especially what we're going to talk about today, involving if you're not a U.S. citizen. And he was sharing that the company had a ton of IT work. I had no idea. All I knew is that I sent them an invoice and they paid me, and he was there and he was real cool. I had no idea that this firm actually had a ton of IT contracts. No idea. Then he went on and said, we have a lot of people from China and other parts of Asia providing IT services. I was like, okay. And he said, sometimes we may sponsor them to come over, but not always. And I thought to myself, okay, so I guess in this government contracting space, it's no different than maybe other spaces, in that if you want to hire someone from Upwork or Fiverr or some other platform and they don't live in America, okay, I guess that's acceptable, because here is a project manager connected to a multi-million-dollar prime. And I was just like baby Kizzy then, and he shared that they have brought on people from China to provide IT services. And that's what brings us to our video today. And that is, can you really do that? Is that really allowed? At that point in time, they were doing it. So we're going to really dig deep, because I received an amazing comment, and I believe the name is pronounced Amir, and please forgive me if I mess it all up. And Amir has asked about those who are not in the United States, how does this entire space work? So I'm going to dig deep. So for those of you who may not have, this is my actual passport, a United States of America passport, and you're like, hey, can I still get in this GovCon space that Dr. Parks, Kizzy with the slick back hair today that she's talking about? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. It's based on your arrangement. So let's kind of peel it back, right? If you are looking to subcontract and you live in another country and a prime contractor has a government contract, they could work with you. There's no reason that they couldn't work with you, unless there is a security requirement. There was a point in time, my very first multi-million-dollar contract with the USDA had really blossomed from $4 million to about a $20 million contract. And at that time, we needed to staff a ton of positions. And one of them was kind of like an IT help desk oriented type position. And this particular person was referred to us. And this was probably like the Obama administration, just to give you context. And this amazing woman was not a US citizen. She was from Africa. She was a resident, not a citizen. I was looking for someone like her to fill what's known as a full-time equivalent position, where she would literally sit in a desk at the USDA's office. At that particular time, as a US resident, she was able to fill that role. She was able to do it. Whether she was physically there, she could have done it from her home if the virtual arrangement was approved full-time. There were no questions asked. It was a non-issue. As times have changed a bit, I have noticed that with many contracts, they may put some type of clause in there around that the team members must be US citizens, but not always. If you are involved in an effort that requires a top secret clearance, it's a no-go, and especially if you're someone who's watching and maybe you have multiple passports, maybe you have a US passport and passports from other countries, chances are you're probably going to be asked to give up the non-US passport. So for those of you who are US residents and maybe you want to work as a subcontractor, you have way more freedom. Going back to the story I described with the prime contractor working with talent out of China, way more freedom. When we're talking about a full-time equivalent position where you're literally in an agency's office, it varies based on the nature of the work. I can also share, this is like a Kizzy bonus strategy. If you are engaging with an organization who has a cleared facility and you are not a US citizen, you are not supposed to be in that cleared portion of their facility. We are humans. We're humans. So there may be exception to the rules. I'm sharing what I've encountered. I'm sharing what we have done. And we have a facility security officer, and that is something that he really drilled real deep. Was like, don't have anyone in your office who is not a US citizen. So just passing that along. Now, let's say you own a company and you're not a US citizen, okay? Whether you live in another country, whether you live in America, who knows? Or maybe it's a relative, doesn't matter. Can you become a prime government contractor? And the answer is yes. Yes, you can. You go to sam.gov and there's this section on there that talks about registering. And when you go to that registration section, there's all these pages and there's this little, you're gonna notice like a little bit of tiny thing that talks about if you are outside of the United States, yes, you can register. Now, they may require additional paperwork. They may require some other forms of ID. Who knows? I don't know because I'm a US citizen. So I can only speak to what I know. So for those of you who are watching and you're not US citizens and you have a company and you want to be a prime, I know it's possible. I've come across several multinational companies where their maybe flagship was registered in SAM, but they wasn't owned by a US citizen. So for those of you that may need to go this path, please go through it. Let us know in the comments what happened as you were going to register. I also want to kind of put a little note up here. This is a big Kizzy note. There are countries in which the United States has more favor towards, and there are others where there's less favor toward. So this is something else to keep in mind. If someone is registering a company and perhaps their citizenship is connected to the UK, they may have a different experience than if their citizenship is connected to Nigeria. I bring this up because I recall I was at this Air Force National Guard training. It was this interesting situation, y'all. I was observing, but then they were like, oh, you should participate. I ended up in this training. I was the only non-military person in this training. I became friendly with one of the students, and outside of his role in the Air Guard, he was in banking, like he was way up in banking. And he was talking about situations involving transfer of money to particular countries, especially like Nigeria. And I remember thinking that because I've come across many, many tons of different people who are from Nigeria. I mean, this may seem like but I'm just putting it out there. When you look at the demographics of the United States, the vast majority of Black people who have advanced degrees are usually African or Caribbean descent, opposed to people like myself who are African American. So I've just come across people from all over the world, but I noted it and I thought, okay, if this gentleman is talking about issues with transferring money to Nigeria, then clearly in a contracting situation, there's going to potentially be some issues. So I just put this out there because there isn't one set of rules. The other thing I have learned in this space, ask permission. There was a time where there was a military member I came across, and he was talking about when people enlist in probably the Army, and that there are these like exceptions, there's these waivers, there's these forms that could be filled out and are filled out. And basically he implied you ask permission. You fill out the form, explain the situation, you're asking for this waiver, so then this particular person can enlist. And I have noticed that trend over and over and over and over and over and over. Again, in this government contracting space is when we ask permission is way more powerful than asking for forgiveness, especially given our global climate. So as you're in this space, the more questions you ask, such as going to sam.gov and asking for permission, especially if you're connected to a country that maybe is at war or there's something going on, ask for permission. You never know what will happen. You never know unless you ask. While the focus in this video is on federal government contracting, if there are any of you out there that maybe you're interested in working for the federal government and don't have that blue passport, again, check out the requirements. You never know. It's something that you could potentially do. Who knows? Some agencies may be more lenient than others. What I have really kind of taken away from my 10 plus years in this space involving companies who are headquartered in another country, individuals who are not U.S. citizens, or how companies subcontract, and that is, it's all about what's in the contract. It's about what's in the contract, and it's about the moral, ethic, and values of that business entity. There are definite times where you must be a U.S. citizen. There may be times where you don't. There may be other times where it's pretty cloudy. For those of you where you really want to get into the space, you're not a U.S. citizen, one of the number one things to do is try to find another business owner like you. And I get it. I know this can be a very tough conversation. I went through the citizenship process with my ex-husband. Not only did I learn a lot about that process, but I also learned a lot that there are a lot of people that aren't U.S. citizens that you would never know are not U.S. citizens. And it's something that people are just very uncomfortable talking about. And this isn't about just the different border situations that are always in the news. I'm talking about people you would never, they aren't in the news, is the best way to put it. And so it may be challenging for some of you out there, like, well, how am I supposed to find somebody else like me? You know, be creative. I love using Facebook groups. I love just looking for different groups online. I know when my husband was going through the citizenship process, he found a bunch of really cool groups that gave him tips. I'm assuming there's got to be other groups like that for those of you who want to do business with the federal government, but you're not a U.S. citizen. So this is a space where, you know, I can only share from what I've experienced, right? So for those of you, maybe you've gone through this experience, please comment below. Maybe you're going to go through it, comment below. And also, you know, check out profitablecontracts.co. I love handing that out to you all for free. Please check it out. Please subscribe. Please hit that notification button. I appreciate you because y'all, this was a special video and I love you all so, so much. And don't forget, even with the slick back hair, y'all, look at those curls popping in the back. Everything is possible. I love you guys. Take care.